today I thought I would talk about my journey to India. And in order to do that, I have to also talk about my weight loss journey. So I am going to India to take a 2-month immersive yoga teacher training where I will live as a yogi for 2 months in Rishikesh and train to be a yoga instructor. And then after India, or after that 2-month immersion training, I'm hoping there are 2 more classes that I'm hoping to be able to get into, and I haven't been able to secure a spot for yet. And the first one is a sound healing course to become a sound healer, and to enhance my yoga teaching with sound and meditation through chanting, through singing bowls and tuning forks, and different types of sound healing. And then after that, I'm hoping to be able to go to a 21-day immersive Kundalini yoga training. The yoga class I'll be taking in Rishikesh, I will be doing like a Kundalini yoga emphasis, but the Kundalini yoga class that I'll be taking, that I'm hoping to take, is really taught as per the teachings of Yogi Bhaja, somebody. I'll learn it eventually. I just don't know how to pronounce it. Who is cited for bringing Kundalini yoga to the West. So for anybody that isn't familiar with the different types of yoga, there's like Hatha yoga and Ashtanga yoga, Bikram yoga, Tantric yoga, and a lot of these yogas I sort of kind of grouped together, and I refer to them as Starbucks yogas. I don't know that I probably should, but like Hatha yoga is all about developing your balance and strength, and Ashtanga yoga is a very rigid, strict set of positions that you do in a specific order every day, and it takes like 120 minutes every day in order to do the very strict. And it's basically you go through all the different types, kneeling postures and standing postures and headstands, and all the different types of postures that you have. It's very, very strict, very effective. It's pretty like strength training form of yoga. Whereas in Kundalini yoga is all about the internal organs, and that includes our brain. Our brain is an organ, and so it incorporates a lot of meditation. It incorporates chanting in order to strengthen the vocal cords and the lungs. And I kind of call it like the 1970s hippie yoga. A lot of times Kundalini yoga sessions will be a lot longer than a regular yoga session, and yet you'll only do maybe 3 or 4 postures the entire time, because it incorporates meditation and chanting. And with those postures, they're not called postures; they're called kriyas, and they often have like a pumping action, and it's to get all your systems flowing, your blood system and your circulatory system and your nervous system and your lymphatic system and your respiratory system and your digestive system. Like, it gets all of them kind of moving. And so even if there's a position that you hold for a period of time, you often do what's called a breath of fire, which is like a really fast breathing to kind of get your systems moving. But there's a position called the frog, where you like crouch down on the floor, or crouch down and put your hands on the floor, and then you straighten your legs, and then you bend your legs, and then you straighten your legs, and you bend your legs, keeping your hands on the floor. But you do it kind of as fast as you can. And then you also, the other thing about Kundalini is you do them for like really long time. So you do frog for like 11 minutes, it's incredibly difficult. I am not that good. But, you know, yoga is for everyone. So anyway, that is what I'm doing in India, and what I will be doing after I get done with my Camino is going to these yoga teacher trainings to become a yoga teacher. And so that sort of leads me into my yoga journey, which is my weight loss journey. So in 2016, the end of 2016 and early 2017 is when I hit my heaviest. And then some of that was because I was on a really, really, really high dose of prednisone, like 1,000 milligrams. I had to go get like prednisone infusions for a while, and then I was taking 100 milligram pills. And it took me like 9 months to wean off of the prednisone, and as a result, I just gained a bunch of weight. Well, I was already quite heavy. I gained like 10 pounds, but for anybody that isn't familiar with some of the effects of prednisone, because of the high prednisone, I developed a symptom or an issue called Cushing's syndrome. And what it did was it redistributes the fat on your body to your face and to your neck and shoulders. So I actually had developed a hump on my back for a couple of years. And I couldn't even like look up because the hump in my back was getting in the way. It was a really horrible time of my life. The prednisone made me incredibly anxious. All the time. I couldn't think through anything really clearly. Anyway, so at my heaviest, I was 286 pounds. And then at the end of 2019, beginning of 2020, I wasn't really trying to lose weight. Weight loss was not a goal of mine. I had sort of just given it up and accepted that I was just going to be heavy forever, and that was not something that was like this is who I am, and that like I just should accept it, and that's where I was in my life. But I had just moved and was kind of trying to rebuild my life and kind of rethink of what I was doing, and just kind of organically just changed how I was living. I didn't really do anything on purpose. It wasn't like an intention of mine. But I just, I wasn't cooking for two anymore, and cooking for one is harder. And so I just wasn't making as big of portions, and I wasn't coming home and just like binging on food all night. I would just come home and have dinner and then play video games or whatever. And just kind of organically, kind of naturally, I lost, 30 or 40 pounds. Just kind of on my own. I mean, without really trying. And that amount of weight kind of gave me hope that, maybe this is something I could do. Maybe I won't be fat forever. And right at that time was when I moved to Vermont. I moved to Vermont in April of 2020. And so I had just gotten into a new city. I didn't know anybody. It was just right at the beginning of COVID. Everything was closed. I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't go to the grocery store. I couldn't do anything. But the apartment complex I had just moved into was right on the river, and it connected right up to a boardwalk. And so I'd get off work and I was bored. I didn't have anything to do. I didn't want to play video games. I hadn't really developed any new hobbies yet. And so I would just go for a walk on this boardwalk, and it kind of led into this little nature walk. I kind of call it my first hike, like a starter hike. It was only about a mile, but it kind of had everything that a big hike would have. But it was just a really mild hike. I would just kind of do that every night after work, and then where I was working was back in Utah, and so my time zones were different. So even if I didn't start working till 10 or 11 a.m. Eastern time, it was still only 8 or 9 Utah time, which is when all of my coworkers were getting into work anyway. And so I would get up at like 5, 6 and kind of mill around my apartment for a little while, and then I'd get bored, and so I would go for a walk. Someone came out onto the patio and I forgot what I was talking about, and I don't want to rewind the video to go back to it, but basically I would get up before work and I would go for a walk, and then I would work, and then I would oftentimes even go for a walk at lunchtime just to step away from my computer, not have to sit all the time. Or I would do yoga. And I started doing yoga in July of 2020. It was kind of the first thing. And I started doing it because at the time I thought I really wanted to be able to run a 5K. And so I needed to stretch in order to be able to do. I started to try to run a little bit, but it was really hard on my muscles. And so I'm like, I need a stretch. And I was like, I'll just do some yoga and stretch my legs. And I started by taking this like yoga class on Amazon Video. It was just like a 30-day yoga for weight loss course. And in that course, she talks a lot about making positive mind-body connections and having these exercises become a reward for your, rather than like a chore that you have to do. It's something that is rewarding to you. And just kind of the way she taught this course was really positive and uplifting, and it was all about, meeting yourself where you are and just, doing what you can do. And if you can't do the full pose, then don't worry about it. Everybody's on a different path on their journey, and somehow the way she was describing it really sort of made me feel okay that I wasn't perfect at the pose, and I didn't have perfect posture, and because that always worried me and always bothered me that I couldn't do it perfectly, and I thought, well, like I was a failure or a loser or something because I couldn't do this. And the way she would talk about yoga poses, she was like, you know what, just do what you can do, and don't push yourself beyond what you're capable. Push yourself to your limits, of course, but like don't worry about it. You'll get stronger as you do it, and it will come over time. Just allow yourself to be where you are. And it really did help me make a positive connection to physical activity, and I did start to enjoy yoga and those kinds of exercises to the point that they became a reward. I'd come home from my walk and be like, oh, now I get to go do some yoga, and it was really, really rewarding to me. And so by October of that year, I had lost over 100 pounds. And I did kind of slow up what I was doing. That winters in Vermont are quite cold, and I have not yet developed any kind of winter hobby. Like I don't go out and play in the snow yet. I want to do like cross-country skiing. I want to do like snowshoeing, but I haven't incorporated it into my life yet. And so I would just kind of stay. I went on walks through the winter as long as I could, but at some point the snow was just so icy that I couldn't just walk anymore. You have to kind of do something like snow. I mean, like I had, spikes for my shoes to help, but it still was just really, really, really challenging to walk on the ice. And so I kind of let up a little bit that winter, and even into that summer, I just kind of maintained this kind of more mild habits than I had the previous summer. And so I've just been incorporating yoga as part of my life ever since. And this last year I have really struggled bringing it into my life. I've been kind of down about where I am in my life, and so I have kind of lost my yoga practice a little bit. I haven't been doing it as regularly as I should, and as a result I have gained a little bit of that weight back. And at some point you kind of have to just realize, like, this is something that not only do I want to make space for in my life, I want it to be my life. I want to help other people that are struggling with the same things that I'm struggling with. And I want other people to recognize that yoga isn't just for ballerinas and for, 18-year-old, models. It's for everybody, and everybody can do it. And it doesn't matter your skill level. It doesn't matter how physically fit you are. It doesn't matter where you are. Everybody is on a different part of their journey, and you have to just start. And if you don't start, you'll never get to where you want to be. It's not going to just you're not going to just wake up tomorrow and somehow magically be fit and healthy. You have to put in the work, and you have to do it every day, and you have to make it part of your life. And that recognition of this is something that I wanted to help other people with, and I wanted to be able to help people that may be intimidated by, because I was really intimidated to go to a yoga class in person for a long time, because I didn't feel like I was good enough, or I didn't feel adequate, or I would compare myself to the other people in the class. Or I was afraid that people would judge me for for my abilities or what I looked like. And I just really wanted to be able to help other people that are struggling with the same things, and help them recognize that everybody can do yoga. Every body can do yoga, and it doesn't matter. You can find something that you can do. There's chair postures. There's laying down postures, if that's all you can manage. It doesn't matter, but you have to start. And if you don't start, then you're never going to get where you're going. You're where you want to go. So that's kind of my weight loss journey, and kind of how I've come to be where I am, and why it is that I'm going to India and to Rishikesh. But I do kind of want to talk about weight loss more than just from a yoga perspective, because it was far more than just I did yoga. So first off, every fitness, every health expert will tell you that weight is a terrible measure of success, and I agree. And I realize that it's an easy one. You get on the scale, you see the numbers go down. It's an easy measure of success, but it's not very good. There are people that are very healthy that are heavy, and there are people that are very unhealthy that are thin, and weight does not equal health. And so for me, I really, I did weigh myself, and I did track that a little bit, but I really wasn't focused on weight loss. What I was focused on, and what I think other people should focus on, is what do you want out of life? What activities do you want to be able to do that you can't do right now? And maybe that's hiking, maybe that's skiing, maybe that's mountain biking, maybe that is ballet, maybe it's hip hop. Whatever it is that you want, that's what you need to focus on, and figure out how you can incorporate those activities into your life, and just work at it and do it. and just do it. And if it's hip hop, then just do a little bit of it every day. And it doesn't matter if you look like Mr. Bean while you're doing it. Just start. You're not gonna get good if you don't start somewhere. So that's something that's more important is what is it that you want out of life, and what activities do you want to be able to do, and being able to work to be able to do those activities. And so like I would love to be able to have some kind of winter sport, but I haven't incorporated it into my life, partly because I'm scared and partly because I have no one to do it with. But it's just not something I've added to my life yet. And the other thing that you should measure is, what you want out of life. And then, do you feel confident about yourself? And weight, and our weight doesn't always mean that, like, once you get to your goal weight, that you're going to feel better about yourself. And in fact, a lot of times, you feel good that you got to your goal weight. But if you don't change your mindset about you, you're just going to gain the weight back. And oftentimes we gain more weight back because we didn't correct how we felt about ourselves. And that is really the more important part of my weight loss journey is changing how I saw myself. And some of the struggles I was having with weight loss prior to when I actually lost the weight was that I didn't feel like I was worthy of it. I didn't feel like I was worthwhile, like I was going to put all this effort in, and I'm not worth the work. I also didn't feel, I also really felt like even if I lost weight, I was still going to be ugly. I was still going to be, unattractive, and so, like, why bother if after I lose the weight I'm still unattractive? Why would I put forth the effort to losing it? And so some of my weight loss, or most of my weight loss journey was learning to change how I saw myself, and to change my self-worth, and to just change how I was dealing with some of those issues. And if I didn't feel confident in myself now, then I probably wouldn't feel confident in myself even once I lost the weight. And so I would do things like, okay, I don't feel comfortable going out and being social with people because I feel unattractive, or I feel like I'm not as good as everyone else, or I'm not as well dressed as everyone else. And so I just learned to dress for my shape. And so instead of changing my shape to my dress, because even the thinnest people can't wear everything. And so it really is a matter of like learning to dress for who you are and for your body, and being your authentic self, and dressing with the way that you want to dress. And if that means that you wear dresses every day, then wear dresses every day. And if that means that you wear yoga pants every day, then wear yoga pants every day. And if that means that you wear, sorry, my battery died. But anyway, the important thing is that you do you, and that you be authentic to yourself, and you wear what makes you feel comfortable with who you are right now, and learning to accept who you are right now, and not like, oh, I'm worthless until I lose weight, because that mindset is not going to get you where you want to go. And if there are people in your life that you're trying to impress by what you wear or what you look like, then maybe those aren't the right people for you. Maybe that's not your tribe. And maybe you should find people that will accept you for who you are in the moment, and learning to accept yourself. So anyway, the idea that once you lose weight, people will be more accepting of you, or people will love you more. Did they stop loving you because you gained weight? And if they did, why would you want those people's approval? Why would you want to impress them? Those are not people that have earned your love and respect. And so, like, recognizing that your own self-worth and being okay with who you are and accepting you for who you are and living according to your authentic self, regardless of what weight you are. And that mindset has been more impactful in my life, and not just in my weight loss journey, but in my entire life. Is you know, if wearing a suit and tie every day is making you miserable, then why do you keep doing it? And like, just finally accepting, like, it's okay to be who you are, and it's okay to do what you love, and it is okay to live according to your truest self. And anybody that is in alignment with that will stay in alignment with it, and anybody that's not in alignment with it, you know, that's a them problem. Like, you can't live your life for other people. It's not their life, it's your life. Live your life for you. One of the 8 limbs of yoga is this concept of santosha. And santosha is meeting yourself where you are. And we're all on different parts of our journey. And, you know, I was able to go to Vermont, where I didn't know anybody, and I was able to kind of discover myself. And so some of that was like trying new clothes that maybe worked for my body and maybe didn't, but maybe I felt good in, and it wasn't even if they worked for your body. It's more of like, were you comfortable in it? Did you feel good about yourself? And that's really more important. If you put on an outfit, no matter how cute it is, no matter how good you look in it, if you don't feel good in it, if it doesn't make you feel good and confident about yourself, and if you don't walk away being like, yeah, look at me, I look good in this, then it doesn't matter. Your confidence is far more attractive than any physical attribute, any clothing that you could possibly wear. Like, your confidence is magnetizing, and the more confident you are, the more attractive you're going to be, no matter what you wear, no matter what you look like. Be confident in who you are and accept yourself for who you are, and those are the most important things, no matter where you are on your journey. But like, you'll never get to where you want to go if you don't accept yourself for who you are right now. There was a quote, I don't know the exact quote, and I don't know who said it, so I apologize, Google it. But basically it says something like, the person you are today is because of the work you did in the past, and the person you're going to be in the future is because of the work you're doing right now. And so if there is somebody that you want to be because you want to be that person, then you have to do that work today. You have to start today. If you want to, you know, become the next president, you have to start today to figure out what steps you need to take in order to get there. And then you have to recognize that it is work. You can't just go on a magic diet and lose weight and somehow magically change your life. It doesn't work like that. Even once you do lose the diet or do lose the weight, if you go on a diet, like a really extreme diet, you lose a bunch of weight really fast. You have to change your life in order to maintain that weight. And it's the maintenance of that weight that is far more important than the actual initial weight loss. You know, it's just like any other skill. If you don't use it, you lose it. If you don't practice the piano, then 20 years later, you're not going to be able to practice or play the piano. You're going to have to start all over. And if you lose a bunch of weight and and then don't maintain it, you're just gonna gain it back, and then you're gonna have to start all over. And so it really is a matter of like incorporating things that you like into your life that make you feel good. And you know, if you want to just come, if like what you love to do is to go to work and then come home and watch movies and binge eat, then why do you care? You know, our physical bodies. Sorry, it was getting a little bit late, and a lot of the pilgrims try to go to bed by 9 so they can get up early and start walking. So I came inside so that I wasn't disturbing anybody. But the question was, why do you care? And I'm not saying that with like an attitude like, why do you care? I'm saying that like you should genuinely ask yourself why you care. And if the reason you're doing these things is something that is meaningful to you, then it's okay. So like if you hate your job or you hate where you live, but it provides your family with a good life, or it gives your kids good schools, then you know maybe it's worthwhile for you to do that. There is the story of Sisyphus, or in the Buddhist community it's known as the parable of the absurd man. And I'm gonna get it way off, so Google it, because it'll make Google will get it better. But basically, Sisyphus is asked to push a rock up a hill for eternity. He pushes it up the hill every day, and then every night it rolls back down, and he starts all over. And when he first was punished to this life, he asked, like, why am I doing this? Why do I have to do this? Like, he was miserable, really struggled with it. And then one day he got to go spend some time with his family and his friends, and again, I'm getting this way off, but basically the story is like your family and your friends can continue to have this wonderful day and can continue to have this wonderful life if you continue to push this rock up this hill. Well, not if, he was punished. But seeing the happiness in his family made pushing that rock up the hill worthwhile. When I first moved out on my own, I bought myself a Nintendo Switch. It was gaming consoles were not something that I really had as part of my life. We had them growing up when I was little, but as the only girl and number 5 with 4 older brothers, I rarely got to play it. It was my brother's gaming console, and so it was very, very infrequent that I got to play on it. And then when I'm quite young, 6 maybe, I don't know how old, we had someone break into our house and stole our Sega Game Gear and our Sega Genesis, and we never replaced them. We never got another gaming console after that. And then one year for our anniversary, I decided to buy a Wii, and we had Mario Kart, and we only played Mario Kart on our gaming console. So we had a gaming console for several years, but all we ever did was play Mario Kart, and we never got to play any other games. So that was something that I had an interest in at the time. And so when I was first on my own, I bought a Nintendo Switch, and I just wanted to venture into the world of gaming. And kind of the game that I became addicted to was Zelda Breath of the Wild. And I remember playing it and being like really anxious that I had to save Zelda, and that like some part of me really believed that like if I didn't complete these quests, Zelda was really gonna die, and I had to do it quickly. And I was like really anxious to make it through that, and like I had to go defeat Ganon because that was the objective of the game. And like I really felt this anxiety of like I have to do this. And so I bought a book and I watched all these YouTube videos, and I did everything I could to figure out how to like complete all the puzzles so that I could go defeat Ganon, and in a timely manner. I was obsessed. It's like all I could think about for a couple of weeks, maybe a little bit longer than that, probably more like a month. And then I did. I defeated Ganon, and it was very anticlimactic. And I was like, well, now what do I do? and I was like, but I didn't get to go do that thing that I didn't get to go talk to that guy over in that town, and I didn't get to go complete that quest, and I didn't find all the Korok seeds, and I didn't do all of these things. And so I started over. And this time when I started over, I explored the world and I did all of the quests, and I was not in a rush to get to the end, because if you're at the end, then the game is over and you miss out on all the things. And I realized at that point that the game was about going out and finding all the resources. It was about completing all these quests. It was about solving all these puzzles, and it was not about defeating Ganon. And once you've defeated him, then your game is over. And so why are you rushing to end this game that you're enjoying so much? I started to appreciate all of these things that the first time I played the game I found to be obnoxious. I thought it was annoying that I had to go find resources, that I was irritating that in order to get more weapons I had to go find all these Korok seeds. And it just distracted me from the game until I realized that that is the game. You know, from my perspective, romance is not sending cards and flowers and Valentine's Day. That's not romantic. That's a cover-up. Romance is, the washing dishes together every night, together, and enjoying one another's company, and going for walks together every night. That is so much more romantic to me than the one-time giving of flowers. And so, sometimes we make these decisions that like, okay, I'm gonna do this thing that I don't love. I don't love going out and finding the resources in the game, but it's important in order to complete the game, and it's important in order to be able to get the things that I want. And so I'm going to do it. And sometimes those become the most rewarding things, and sometimes those become the things that we love the most. But the point is that you have to ask yourself those questions, and you have to answer them, and you have to be brutally honest, and you have to accept the real answer. And if the real answer is that you don't know, then maybe stop doing it. Accepting that real answer, accepting that real authentic answer, and then recognizing your role in where you are today. That is a really, really, really important part of the weight loss journey. And it's so easy for us to blame our lives on other people. Well, I am the way I am because my parents brought me up this way, or because my parents didn't support me, or because I didn't get support from my friends, or because my romantic partner didn't do whatever, or whatever. It's so easy for us to blame everyone else for our problems, and start recognizing, well, if that is true, then why are you still in that relationship? And at what point do you become responsible for yourself? At what point do you have to take responsibility for yourself? I was raised in a very poor family, and we struggled with money, and money was not something that came easy to us. And so I never really learned how to budget. I never learned how to invest. I never learned a lot of these skills. And I could very easily just blame my lifestyle and my financial issues on how I was raised. And I wasn't raised in money, so I don't have money. And I was raised with a poverty mindset, and money is finite, and I didn't, whatever the scenario is that you're trying to accuse something else of where you are. At some point, I have to like recognize, well, and maybe that's true. Maybe I was raised with a poverty mindset. Maybe I was not taught to budget, but I am now an adult, and I have to now take responsibility for myself. And at some point, I have to make the effort to gain the skills that are going to get me to where I'm going. And if I need to learn how to budget, and I need to learn how to invest, that is my responsibility. And it doesn't matter how I was raised, and it doesn't matter the lessons that my parents taught me. I have to do that work. And that's the other thing to recognize, is that this is all a skill, like any other skill, like learning how to jump rope, like learning the piano, like I don't know, learning how to ski, learning how to budget, learning how to invest. These are all skills that you have to learn, and you have to go in recognizing that it's a skill, and you have to try, and you have to do a little bit, and you have to accept that sometimes you're going to fall down. Sometimes you're going to show up at a recital and not remember how to play your music. Sometimes, you're going to break your arm skiing. Whatever it is, you have to learn to accept that those things are part of it. Those failures are part of the learning process, and they don't mean that you're a bad person. They don't mean that you're not worthy. They don't mean that you should give up. It just means that you need to try more. And stop blaming other people for where you are. And, if somebody were to say a derogatory comment about some basketball team, it wouldn't bother me because I'm not interested in basketball. But if somebody were to say a derogatory comment about somebody that I love, I would be really insulted because that's somebody that I love. And yet, if I were to say a derogatory comment about a basketball team that somebody else loves, they would be really insulted. Because that's something that they love. And learning to see and recognize those things and identify within yourself, okay, so, maybe somebody in your life did tell you that you would be a failure, or maybe somebody in your life did say that you were unattractive, or did make a comment about you only reason it's affecting you is because something inside of you also believes that. Something inside of you is also telling you the same thing. But if you know that you're amazing and you know that you're attractive, then when somebody else comes up to you and says that you're not attractive, you can be like, no, that's not true. I am attractive. And you can start to recognize that the reality is that it's probably some wounding that they have within themselves that is making them make that comment. And it has really nothing to do with you. There was a good friend of ours that when she was like a radio announcer, and when she first got into her career, she was like a news reporter. I actually don't really know. But anyway, she told us this story once about how, I think she might have been on the weather. She told us the story once about how when she very first started, I mean, she is one of the most beautiful women I've ever met in my life. She's just absolutely stunning. She is a kind heart and incredibly talented and incredibly skilled and really just very attractive. Just a very attractive woman. And I can only imagine that when she was, in her 20s, that, she was even more beautiful. So anyway, she tells us the story about when she very first started working. She was, a 22-year-old something reporter. And she used to get emails from people telling her how ugly she was. And, people that would call and tell her she's ugly and hurry and hang up. And I just think about that a lot, and it's probably more that there's something wrong with them. that they either can't see beauty. Maybe they can't see beauty. Maybe what is beautiful to them is something different, but probably more likely they find her very attractive, but something inside them is unable to acknowledge that. And so instead they kind of do the reverse. The universe doesn't really see positive and negative the way we do. What I believe is that the universe only sees absolute values, and it doesn't matter positive or negative. It only sees absolutes. And so if what you tell yourself is that you don't want to be fat, all the universe hears is fat. It doesn't get the negative. It doesn't understand the negative. It only understands absolute values. And so if what you're calling into your life is that you don't want to be fat, all you're really doing is calling in fat. And so we need to learn to change how we speak to ourselves and the way we speak to ourselves and the words that we say. The things that we tell ourselves are what we bring about in our lives. And if we tell ourselves that we're not worthy, then we're not going to be worthy. If we tell ourselves that we need to be more patient, then what we're going to get in life are opportunities to be more patient. And what that really means is that we're going to get opportunities that try our patience, that are going to push us to our absolute limit, that are hard to deal with, so that you can be more patient. And if you tell yourself that you are fat, then you're going to be fat. And if you tell yourself that you need to lose weight, what you're really going to get are opportunities to lose weight, which means you're going to get fat. you're gonna you're gonna get opportunities to lose weight. And if you are already thin, then you don't have the opportunity to lose weight. And so you're going to put on weight so that you have the opportunity to lose weight. But if you tell yourself that you are perfect the way you are, maybe you don't say perfect the way you are, but if you tell yourself that you are worthwhile the way you are, and that you are good with who you are, then what you're going to get are opportunities to be good with who you are. And that is a very important part of this mindset as well. And really recognizing how we speak to ourselves, and not allowing the words of other people to affect us. And just because, it's interesting to me. I went through this exercise, and I'm not going to get it exactly right, but I went through this exercise where somebody read off all these incredible qualities, attractiveness and loving and kind and intelligent and loyal and skilled and active, and listed off all of these really incredible traits. And the goal of this exercise was that you were supposed to write down, or it was really more like they would say, you are kind and you are loving and you are beautiful and you are intelligent. And you were supposed to kind of identify the statements that were triggering to you, because they're going to be. There are some of these positive qualities that if somebody says to you, you are abundant, or you are loyal, and you don't feel like you are loyal, then when somebody says it to you, it's really, really triggering to you. And it's really, it can be really hard to hear and really hard to absorb, and really learning to recognize those things. And so sometimes people that are in our lives that are actually genuinely supportive of you and loving of you, sometimes we can find those people to be incredibly toxic, and almost manipulative. But it's not because they're doing anything wrong. It's not because they're unsupportive. It's not because they're unloving. It's because there's something in me that isn't accepting that. There's something in me that is causing a problem, and I'm keeping myself stuck. And so that has been a big part of this, and it's been a big part of this pilgrimage that I'm on, is learning to be safe and secure within myself, no matter what. And this is part of why, is that, sometimes there have been people in my life that are very supportive of me, that are very loving of me, and I have felt unworthy of that support and unworthy of that love. And so I have found it to be toxic in my life, but it has nothing to do with them. It has nothing to do with anything that they're doing. It has to do with my wounding, that I don't feel worthy, I don't feel loving, and I don't feel good enough. And it really has become so important to me to learn to accept who I am, and that includes all of my quote unquote faults, and accept my faults, and